Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we've all been there, watching the pros on Sunday, seeing them bomb at 350 yards and thinking, man, if I just had that driver. Well, today, we're actually going to find out. We're testing the exact driver used by one of the biggest hitters on the planet, Bryson DeChambeau, to see if an average Joe can handle it.
And really, that's the big question, isn't it? It's the ultimate dream, that you could just walk into a shop, pull some new gear off the shelf, and instantly unlock a better game. But is it ever really that simple? Can you literally buy more yards and better scores? That's what we're digging into.
All right, so let's set the stage here. The club we're talking about is from a company called Krank Golf. Now, they're the ones behind Bryson's driver. They sent over a couple of different models for some regular golfers to try out, and the mission was simple. Find out if all that hype about insane distance is for real. You know, for someone who doesn't swing it 130 miles an hour.
So what's their secret sauce? What does Krank claim makes their driver so special? Well, it all comes down to the face. It's super hot and incredibly thin titanium. Think of it like a trampoline. The thinner it is, the more it flexes when the ball hits it, and the more it springs back. And that spring back effect, it's supposed to launch the ball with way more speed and hopefully a whole lot more distance.
Now, before we get to the juicy test results, it's really important to know that Krank isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of company. They've got a whole lineup of drivers, and understanding the differences is key to what happens next. So Krank basically offers 4 different heads. You've got the Formula XX and the Formula X, which are for golfers with slower swings. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. They are not legal for tournaments. They don't conform to USGA rules. The other 2, the Pro Tour and the long drive heads, those are totally legal, and that's the category we're going to start with.
Okay, let the games begin. The testers started out with a club that was actually built for them, the Pro Tour model. One guy used a 10.5-degree head, the other used a 9-degree. You know, they wanted to keep it a fair apples-to-apples fight.
And right off the bat, the feedback was, well, it was surprisingly good. They said the club had this kind of funky trapezoid shape, but the feeling off the face was awesome. It wasn't weird or clunky. In fact, one of the testers said, it actually feels really good, which was the last thing they expected. And that hot face feeling? Oh yeah, the data absolutely backed it up. After one of the testers really went after one, he looked up and saw 163 miles per hour ball speed on the monitor. He said for him, that is really high, especially for the start of the season. To get that kind of speed, he'd normally have to absolutely demolish one.
And you knew there was a but coming, right? That amazing speed came with a catch. The same tester who hit that 163-mile-per-hour rocket also admitted that when he really stepped on it, the driver got a little harder to control. It's that classic golf dilemma. Do you want pure, raw power, or do you want forgiveness?
And the reason for that trade-off? It all comes down to spin. The testers figured out that this Pro Tour head is a very low-spinning driver. Now, if you're a player who naturally creates a ton of spin, that's incredible. It can turn all that extra spin into pure distance. But if you're already a low-spin player or you miss the center of the face, it can be really unforgiving. The ball just won't have enough backspin to stay in the air.
Okay, the warm-up is officially over. It is time for the main event. After hitting the model made for them, the guys grabbed the driver head that Bryson DeChambeau actually uses. And this is where the experiment goes from interesting to just extreme.
So how extreme are we talking? Well, one of our testers normally plays a 10.5-degree driver. That's pretty standard for an amateur. Bryson's driver head, a measly 6 degrees of loft. I mean, that's a massive difference. We're talking about a club that looks less like a driver and more like a 1-iron. It's built for one very, very specific type of swing.
And the intimidation factor was immediate. Just setting the club down behind the ball, the tester's first reaction was, oh my gosh, it's like looking down at a 2-iron. You could just picture it, right? Seeing almost no loft on the face and thinking, how in the world am I supposed to get this thing airborne?
So, the first swing. It was a complete and total disaster. He hit it so far off the heel of the club that the force of the bad hit literally made the club twist right in his hands. He actually called it a club twirl. The ball barely went as far as his 5-iron. But even when he managed to catch one right out of the middle, the data told this just unbelievable story. The spin rate was only 823 RPMs. For a driver, that number is so low it's almost hard to believe. The ball had zero chance. It was just a low, diving knuckleball.
To put that 823 number into perspective for you, one of the testers joked, I think I get more spin than that on my putting stroke. And that right there tells you everything you need to know. A normal human swing is just not meant for this club.
So after all that, after hitting the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's the final verdict?
Can this super elite piece of gear actually help an average player?
Okay, first let's talk about that hittable Pro Tour driver. The verdict's pretty straightforward. On the plus side, it's seriously fast. It's a real contender if you're looking for a low-spin driver. But the downside is that same low-spin nature makes it less forgiving and tougher to control. So it's definitely not going to be the right fit for every amateur out there.
But the verdict on Bryson's actual 6-degree head? It's not even a debate. It is not a magic wand. An average golfer simply cannot use it. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not the tool, it's the incredible skill of the craftsman. Bryson can use that club because his swing is a finely tuned machine, something a regular golfer just can't replicate.
And all this leaves us with one last question for you to think about. It's so easy to blame our clubs when we hit a bad shot, but after seeing this, you really have to ask yourself, is your gear actually holding you back, or is it possible that your swing is holding it back? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.